Well, we're currently walking down on the square in Lisbon, which was well, Hamilton will probably tell you more about what happened on the square in Lisbon.
Well, the square in Lisbon actually disappeared in the earthquake in, I think, 1755, I think it was. And then everything that, if you pan around here, all around us, this was all part of the rebuilding of Lisbon that happened sort of post 1755, when Portugal was still an extremely rich country. And I mean, it was money no object. And I mean, if you just look at the architecture, the quality of everything around us, and it's both sides of the square.
Yeah, but it was all rebuilt in 1755, wasn't it?
Well, post 1755, yeah. But then all of the things that now are on our left-hand side, like that which is the little Lisbon Museum that tells you all about the earthquake, these are all very upmarket shops. If you pan around, just pan around there.
So looking across at the square there.
Yeah, it's mirrored on the other side of the square. It's exactly the same format. Fabulous quality. Look at that statue in the middle of it. I mean, if you just walk that way, I mean, look at that for a piece of gateway that takes you back up into what then became the new town of Lisbon. Wonderful.
And you were telling me earlier that was the statement piece for anybody coming into Lisbon to, greet the king, for example.
It was the King of Portugal, who at that time was still very rich and very powerful, and it was making a statement. And I mean, when you look here, it's right on the river, and this is where all of the trading ships came in the centuries before the earthquake. This is where all of the Portuguese explorers were setting out from, and when they came back from, Portuguese went to South America, they got over to the sort of the East Indies. They were dominating the spice trade for hundreds of years. They made it to Mozambique, to Angola. Portugal was a very, very important colonial power going back centuries. And this is it. This is the epicenter of where it was happening.
We're now heading up to the gate posts of where the explorers disappeared off to the New World, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you get here, and I mean, this is the River Tagus. And if you turn left, you follow the river up into Spain. If you turn right, well, about, not that many miles, that puts you straight into the Atlantic. And that's where all the Portuguese explorers were going. You look at the whole history of the trade that Portugal instigated. They got to Macau, they got out much, much further to the east than most European countries did. And they made themselves very, very rich. Portugal was far more important than most people think. Look at that. Look at it.
It's an incredible sight, isn't it?
Absolutely fantastic.
Maybe
fairly low time, but we can actually
we'll go down there in a moment, but
going down on that side is better. They're starting to come in, but you see where all the rocks are over there. When the tide is out, it probably goes 30 feet out beyond those rocks. And I mean, I've picked up all sorts of little bits of...
Well, should we go down and have a look?
I've picked up all sorts of bits of pottery down there and bits of blue and white stuff.
Go.
Well, I mean, this is the River Tagus. When you look here, what those two pillars are, that's sort of denoting more or less the embarkation and disembarkation point where all the famous Portuguese explorers set out from. And I mean, coming out of here and just simply turning right and following the river down, within a few miles you're into the Atlantic. You go south, you're heading to the South Americas. It's from this point where all of the major Portuguese expeditions disembarked from, and this is where they came back from. When the explorers returned, that was the point where if you'd had a successful expedition, the king would come down from the castle, and that's where he greets you as your welcoming back hero of Portugal.
So basically what you've done before in the past then on this beach is found bits of pottery from that time frame and that era. So what we'll do now is we'll just go over and have a little look, It's highly unlikely we'll find anything the way that the tide is at the moment, but you never know. That's the fun of having a look, isn't it?
No, I mean, you're not going to find anything spectacular here, but when you look in the rocks, this area here, I've picked up little blue and white china fragments which look 17th century, maybe a bit older.
Well, there's a chance of finding absolutely anything, isn't there? Limited with the size of the tide we've got at the moment, but I mean, I can see bits of pottery just sitting there now. I mean, that terracotta could have come from the Roman period, and here I've just found a coin which is just basically sitting there.
Oh, there you are. It's a modern 50 year.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's still that could have been a coin that could have dropped from 200 or 300 years ago. That's the whole point of examining things. Once you've got your eye in of what you're looking, as you well know, Hamilton, once you can see shapes and colours in the ground and on the riverbed. Here we got some lovely bits of pottery here, which is very similar to the Severn Valley pottery from the Roman. You've got some lovely decorations onto that.
That's a decorated bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you have to bear in mind we're actually standing in an area that's been occupied for several thousand years. I mean, it was occupied before the Romans got here. You've got the Celtic people. Before that, you've got the Phoenicians came here, and it was the Phoenicians that actually established what we now call Lisbon, which they called Alisuba, which was one of the trading centres, because, you know, the Phoenicians were the sea people, and they were establishing trading bases all around the Mediterranean. They did Marseille, they did all sorts of places, and they were the first people to come here and set up a permanent, well, I suppose, habitation trading place.
I mean, I guess that's one of the dangers that you have to avoid on a beach. Yeah, we're just zooming in and having a quick look at some of the nice bits of pottery that...
Yeah, that's another bit of pottery.
Well, that's actually decorated, isn't it, on the back?
Is it?
It's got traces of paint by the look of it.
Paint or glaze or something, I don't know.
I'd say that was paint.
Yeah, it might be.
And that piece that I've just found there, to me, is a very interesting piece. Now that's a handle. Hamilton, have a look at this one, look, that I just found. That to me is probably the best piece that I've just found on the shore.
Oh, it's a bit of a rim or something.
Well, it's a handle by the look of it. No?
I don't know, it looks like it's got a curve, more like a rim. But yeah, that's pretty ancient. Yeah, that's unglazed terracotta. We'll take that home as a souvenir.
I think I'm going to leave it in Portugal, but very interesting item. Go.
You know, like all places that have a river running through them, this was the rubbish disposal place for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And
where are we going tomorrow, Ham?
well, when you start looking back at the city from here, if you just look to the right-hand side where we are, well, that's the Castle of St George, which dates back to, well, God, there's been settlements up there since Roman times, and what's left is the 12th century castle. So I think that's where we're heading tomorrow.
Anyway, we'll be talking about the castle up on the hill tomorrow. See you then.